and obviously Jay Dilla is considered a big innovator on the side of feel in hip hop. But in general, I feel like hip hop has really changed the game for drummers and the kinds of feels that they use. So, is there anyone else in the realm of hip hop that you feel like has really influenced the way you conceptualize feel and rhythm?
Oh, that's a good question. Definitely RZA. RZA, because you know, just knowing about Dilla, like a lot of times, it's crazy to say this, but I didn't even realize he was a producer of a lot of those some of those records in the beginning. Because it's just like we just I just got had a late pass, not a super late pass, but I remember hearing that glitchy type of stutter um, programming when Wu Tang came out, and I was told that although rest in peace Jay Dilla, like he's definitely coined the sloppy, like making that into a thing. Um, from what I was told, I think RZA, the reason why some of the production came out a little unquantized because they didn't read the manual. They didn't know when those loops would come around. It would just they just left it. Not because they just didn't really know how to use. They use the equipment to the best of their ability. Like they just and that was the thing. But Dilla, he purposely was going for how when you heard old school drummers like Stubblefield and um man Bernard Purdy, when you heard those
Yeah.
old records, sometimes the drummers will make mistakes because we're not machines. We've sometimes we humanly drag the beat, and because a lot of times I feel like I think because they been recorded to reel to tape, it wasn't no Pro Tools, so they just left the mistakes in. So if the drummer dragged the beat or they missed a cymbal or they was a little sloppy, it left. So Dilla wanted to you know from what I gathered, he wanted to leave the mistakes and sloppiness as far as like when you quantize a beat and unquantized. So basically, for people that don't understand the terminology, when you quantize a beat, the computer fixes the mistake. So if you play, if you're composing a beat and you make a mistake and you're behind, if you put the quantize on it, it's going to fix it for you. But if you put unquantized on, that mistake that you made is left in there. So I would say RZA, um, definitely producers like DJ Premier, Pete Rock. I think because a lot of those guys in a Bomb Squad, when they were sampling Clyde Stubblefield and Jabo. So, when you hear those James Brown record and the break parts, sometimes there were a little sloppiness, but when that one came around, sometimes it was not all perfect. It was perfect. It wasn't a perfect loop. So, but definitely RZA was another person, and definitely the Bomb Squad. Shout out to Keith, was a good friend of mine, Keith Shockley and Hank. Those guys. Yeah, I definitely give them, praise. And of course, the later guys like Mad Lib's, is a friend of mine. Um, but definitely, Jay Dilla and like RZA.
Yeah, man.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, you do such a great job of innovating on those sorts of techniques and really stretching like the boundaries of what feel can be. Is there anything else that you would consider like a foundational part of what has become your style?
Yeah, my style is definitely everything that inspired me from my gospel roots. Because I always tell people that I'm a genre bending drummer. I don't just play one genre. So I started my beginners are church, of course, and then I came up Pentecostal, Kojic, and we were told not to listen to secular music, but I snuck. But anyway, I just felt like as a young as a young lad, like I feel like my talents were gonna be bigger than gospel. So I started learning other genres like jazz, and hip hop, and I guess I would say, can you just repeat that question a little bit so I won't go too far off of it?
Just like what something that you would consider like an essential part of what has made your style what it is.
Yeah, so whoever I was checking out in the gospel drumming at the time, like Dana Davis is from Detroit and Michael Williams. Dana played with the Winans, so I wanted to listen to the top guys, and whoever was the top people in those different genres, I studied them. I watched and studied them, and then eventually I knew early that I was going to have to get a voice, because looking up to like cats like Vinny Colaiuta, who played with like Sting, Herbie Hancock, Zappa, Frank Zappa, the list goes on. Was big influence on me. Definitely, Benny is one of my biggest influences. Shout out to Benny, and it's so bizarre that he's a good friend of mine. Like one of my heroes is now looking up to me, telling me he loves what I do, and he was like, I remind them of when they came up, where everybody was authentic. They were looking for ways to have a voice. Although they were all listening to Tony Williams and certain drummers, they all still look for ways to get the identity. So whoever was playing in those different genres, I just look who was the best. Dave Weckl, Buddy Rich, Krupa, Omar King, Dennis Chambers, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Tony Williams, and then you go to like I play reggae. I play Caribbean music, so I look to see who are those guys. So all those guys will definitely influence Steve Gadd. My bad. I cannot forget to mention Steve Gadd.
Yeah, man.
The reason why I got to say Steve Gadd because he was a genre bending drummer. He didn't overplay, and that's one of the people that I want to pattern myself after. And then you come to the hip hop world. One of the first drummers that I seen was Questlove from the Roots, so I got to give him praise. So all those drummers helped influence my sound. I just maybe took like a tidbit or something, and then I brought all those influences to all combine into my sound, which I feel like my thing is what gave me my extra, I think, flavorings outside of my inspiration was just that church foundation.